The day my father died, I thought the hardest thing I would ever face was saying goodbye to the man who had always protected me. I was wrong. The real pain began 3 days later, when my own brother stood beside me in a lawyer's office, looked me in the eyes, and took away everything my father had spent his entire life building. Daniel was the person I trusted most after my father. We shared the same childhood, the same memories, and the same family name. I believed no matter how much money or success came into his life, he would never turn against me. But I was about to discover that sometimes the person standing closest to you can be the one holding the knife. When the lawyer opened my father's final documents, Daniel didn't look surprised. He didn't look confused. He looked like a man who had already won. And when I learned that my entire inheritance had been transferred into his name, my world collapsed. He took my father's company. He took our family home. He took the future my father had promised me. But Daniel made one mistake. He thought stealing my inheritance meant he had won. He had no idea my father had left behind a secret that would uncover every lie he had told and bring his perfect life crashing down. And when the truth finally came out, I didn't destroy my brother with anger. I destroyed his lies with the one thing he could never control. The truth. I still remember the rain falling outside the lawyer's office that morning. The sky was dark, and everything around me felt like a reflection of the emptiness inside my heart. My father's old watch rested in my hand. It was the last thing he gave me before he passed away. "Emily," he had whispered weakly from his hospital bed, "always remember, money can be lost, but your character is something nobody can take from you." Those were the last words he ever said to me. I held on to them because I never imagined I would need them so soon. Across the room, Daniel sat confidently in a leather chair, wearing an expensive suit and a watch that probably cost more than my monthly salary. He looked completely comfortable, almost as if he wasn't attending the reading of our father's will. He looked like he was collecting a reward. The lawyer adjusted his glasses and opened the folder. "Before I begin, I want both of you to understand that these documents were legally prepared and verified." I looked at Daniel. Something about his silence made me uncomfortable. "Why do you look like you already know what's inside?" I asked. He smiled slightly. "Because Dad trusted me." My heart tightened. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe my brother was still the same person who used to defend me when we were children. But that hope disappeared when the lawyer spoke. According to the documents, Michael Anderson transferred ownership of his company, properties, and financial assets to Daniel Anderson 6 months before his passing. I stared at the lawyer. I waited for him to correct himself. He didn't. "I'm sorry, can you repeat that?" The lawyer looked uncomfortable. "Everything your father owned was legally transferred to Daniel." The room became silent. I turned toward my brother. "Daniel." He avoided my eyes for a moment. Then he calmly said, "Emily, Dad made his decision." I felt my chest tighten. "No, that doesn't make sense. Dad told me we would handle everything together." Daniel sighed. "You always believed Dad saw you as his equal." I looked at him in disbelief. "Because I was." He leaned forward. "Emily, running a company isn't about emotions. It's about making smart decisions." The words hurt because they sounded so cold. "My father wasn't just a company owner," I whispered. "He was our father." Daniel looked away. Someone had to take responsibility. I knew then. Something had changed inside him. The brother I grew up with was gone. After leaving the lawyer's office, I followed him into the parking lot. Rain soaked my hair, but I didn't care. "Tell me the truth, Daniel." He stopped near his luxury car. "What? Did Dad really want this?" For a few seconds, he said nothing. Then he gave me a look I would never forget. Sometimes people don't get what they think they deserve. I felt tears building in my eyes. I took care of Dad when he was sick. I was there every day. And I built a future. You abandoned him. His expression hardened. "Be careful, Emily." I stared at him. "Are you threatening me?" "No, I'm warning you." He opened his car door. "You should accept reality before it becomes harder." Then he drove away. A week later, reality became even worse. I received a legal notice informing me that I had 30 days to leave our family home. The house where I grew up. The house where my mother taught me to cook. The house where my father celebrated every birthday with us. Daniel wasn't satisfied with taking the inheritance. He wanted every memory gone too. I called him. He answered casually. "Hello, you sent me an eviction notice?" "Yes." "Daniel, this is our home." "No, Emily, it was Dad's home. Now it's mine." I closed my eyes. "How can you do this?" His answer was simple. "Because I can." Those 3 words broke something inside me. I spent the next few days packing my belongings while trying not to fall apart. Every room carried a memory. The kitchen where my father taught me his secret family recipe. The hallway where he measured my height every year. The backyard where my mother planted roses before she passed away. I felt like Daniel wasn't just taking a house. He was trying to erase my entire past. On the day I left, Daniel arrived. He stepped out of his car and looked around the house like it was nothing more than a business purchase. "I heard you're finally leaving." I looked at him. "I can't believe you're doing this." He reached into his pocket and handed me a check. "Here." I looked down. $5,000. I laughed quietly. "Is this supposed to replace everything?" "It's enough to start over." I tore the check in half. His face changed. "You'll regret that." I picked up my last box. "No, Daniel." I looked him directly in the eyes. "One day, you will regret what you did." He smiled confidently, but I noticed something. For a brief second, his smile disappeared. Because somewhere deep inside, he knew something I didn't. Or maybe, he was afraid that I would find out something he had spent months trying to hide. That night, in my small apartment, while unpacking the few belongings I had saved, I found an old wooden box that belonged to my father. I almost ignored it, but something made me open it. Inside were old photographs, letters, and memories from a life Daniel couldn't steal. And beneath everything else, I found my father's private journal. The first page changed everything. Because my father had written something that proved Daniel's entire story was a lie. I stared at my father's handwriting for what felt like hours. The room around me disappeared. The sound of passing cars outside my apartment faded away. All I could hear was my own heartbeat. My father's words were right in front of me, written in the same handwriting I had seen my entire life. The same handwriting that filled birthday cards, grocery lists, and notes he left on the kitchen counter. But now those words carried a truth that could change everything. I turned the page with trembling hands. The first entries were ordinary memories. My father wrote about his business, his dreams, and moments he shared with our family. Then I reached an entry dated 7 months before his death. Today Daniel came to me with a proposal. He wants me to transfer temporary control of the company and properties into his name. He says it is only for financial protection and future planning. My eyes moved quickly across the page. Emily doesn't trust this decision. She asked me why everything needed to be transferred. I told her not to worry because Daniel is my son, and I believe he would never betray his family. I stopped reading for a moment. A painful feeling filled my chest. My father had trusted him. Just like I had. I continued. Something about Daniel's behavior has changed. He talks more about power than responsibility. He talks about what belongs to him instead of what belongs to the family. My hands started shaking. The next entry was even more shocking. Today I asked Daniel when he planned to return control of the assets. He became angry. He said I should let him handle things because I no longer understand modern business. I covered my mouth. My father had seen the warning signs. He knew. I turned the page, but the next pages were missing. Someone had removed them. I searched through the journal again, hoping they were hidden somewhere. Nothing. The person who took those pages knew exactly what they were doing. And suddenly, I understood. Daniel hadn't just stolen my inheritance. He had stolen the truth. The next morning, I went to visit Robert, my father's oldest business partner. He had worked beside my father for over 20 years, and if anyone knew what happened behind the scenes, it was him. When I showed him the journal, his expression changed immediately. "Where did you get this?" "It was hidden in my father's old belongings." Robert sat down slowly. "Your father wanted you to find that." "What do you mean?" He looked toward the window. "Before he died, Michael was worried." "Worried about Daniel?" He nodded. My heart sank. "Why didn't he tell me?" "Because he wanted to protect you." I looked at him. "Protect me from what?" Robert took a deep breath. "From having to choose between your brother and the truth." Those words hurt, because I realized my father was still trying to protect our family until his final moments. "Robert, please tell me everything." He was silent for a while. Then he said, "Your father never intended to give Daniel permanent ownership." I felt like the air had been taken from the room. "What? The transfer was temporary. Your father created another legal agreement that would restore everything after certain conditions were met." "Where is that agreement?" Robert looked away. "I don't know." "You don't know?" "The original copy disappeared." My stomach tightened. "When?" "The week your father died." A cold feeling moved through me. "Daniel." Robert didn't answer. He didn't need to. I already knew. For the first time, I wasn't just hurt. I was angry. But not the kind of anger that makes you destroy things. The kind of anger that makes you fight. I decided I would not confront Daniel. Not yet, because Daniel had spent his entire life underestimating me. He thought I was too emotional, too weak, too easy to defeat. I wanted him to keep believing that. Meanwhile, Daniel continued living like nothing happened. His pictures appeared everywhere: luxury dinners, business events, expensive vacations. Everyone thought he had become even more successful after taking over my father's company. But I noticed something nobody else did. The confidence was fake. Every picture showed a smile, but every interview showed pressure. He was struggling, and I soon discovered why. Sophia, Daniel's assistant, contacted me unexpectedly. I didn't know whether to trust her. She had been beside Daniel for years. But when we met at a quiet cafe, I realized she wasn't there to hurt me. She looked exhausted. "Emily, I need to tell you something." I waited. "Daniel is not the person everyone thinks he is." I stayed silent. She continued. "He has been hiding financial problems for years." "What kind of problems?" "Debt, bad investments, money he borrowed using the company as security." My heart sank. So my father's company was never safe. Sophia shook her head. "No, your father knew something was wrong." She reached into her bag and placed a small envelope on the table. "I found this in Daniel's office." I looked at the envelope. "What is it?" "The missing pages from your father's journal." My breath stopped. I opened it carefully. The first page contained my father's final thoughts about Daniel. "Today I discovered that Daniel has been making decisions without my permission. I fear he no longer sees this company as a family responsibility. He sees it as something he owns." I turned the page. If my children ever read this, I want them to understand something. Wealth does not reveal a person's character. It reveals what was already hidden inside. Tears filled my eyes. My father knew exactly who Daniel was becoming. Sophia looked at me. "I should have helped you sooner." "Why didn't you?" She looked down. "Because Daniel threatened everyone who questioned him." I closed the journal. Now I had proof. Not just a suspicion. Not just a feeling. Proof. I hired a lawyer who specialized in business disputes. When I placed all the evidence in front of him, he studied everything carefully. After several minutes, he looked at me. "Emily, if these documents are authentic, Daniel could lose everything." I thought about the house, the betrayal, the pain, but then I remembered my father's final words. "Money can be lost, character cannot." "I don't want revenge," I said quietly. "I want justice." The biggest moment came when Daniel announced a public event to celebrate his first year as the owner of my father's company. He invited investors, business partners, and the media. He wanted everyone to see him as the man who continued my father's legacy. He wanted applause for something he stole. I knew that event was where the truth would finally come out. The night before the event, my phone rang. It was Daniel. I answered. "Emily, what are you doing?" His voice was different, nervous. "I don't know what you mean." "Don't pretend. I know you've been asking questions." I smiled. "Are you worried?" A long silence followed. Then he said, "You have no idea who you're fighting against." I looked at my father's journal sitting beside me. "No, Daniel," I whispered. "You have no idea who you betrayed." The next morning, I walked into the company building. Daniel was standing on stage in front of everyone, wearing the same confident smile he had worn the day he stole everything from me. But this time, I wasn't walking in as the sister he ignored. I was walking in as the person who carried the truth he couldn't escape. And when Daniel saw the folder in my lawyer's hand, I watched the color disappear from his face. The entire room went silent the moment my lawyer placed the folder on the table. Daniel stared at it as if he already knew what was inside. For the first time since my father's death, the confident mask he always wore began to crack. "What is this?" he asked. His voice sounded calm, but I could hear the fear underneath. My lawyer opened the folder slowly. "These documents prove that the transfer of ownership was never meant to be permanent. They also reveal that important information was hidden from the family, investors, and business partners." A wave of whispers moved through the room. The same people who had been smiling at Daniel minutes earlier were now looking at him with doubt. Daniel immediately turned toward me. "This is what you've been doing. Trying to embarrass me." I looked at him. For months, I had imagined this moment. I imagined screaming. I imagined telling everyone how much he hurt me. But standing there, I realized something. I didn't need anger. The truth was already powerful enough. "I'm not here to embarrass you, Daniel." I held my father's journal tightly. "I'm here because Dad's name deserves better than a lie." His expression changed when he saw the journal. You found that. Those 3 words told everyone everything. He knew exactly what it was. My lawyer noticed too. Daniel, would you like to explain why these pages were hidden? He remained silent, and that silence spoke louder than any confession. Then Sophia stepped forward. I can explain. Daniel looked at her. Sophia, don't. But she continued. I worked for Daniel for 5 years. I helped him build his image. I helped him convince everyone that he was successful and responsible. She looked around the room. But I didn't know the truth until I found the documents in his office. Daniel's face became angry. You have no right. Sophia shook her head. No, you lost the right to control the truth when you started destroying people's lives. The investors started asking questions. What documents? Is the company in financial trouble? Did you hide information from us? Daniel tried to regain control. This is all a misunderstanding. But nobody believed him anymore. My lawyer presented the evidence. The temporary transfer agreement, the financial records, the hidden transactions, the missing journal pages. Piece by piece, the perfect image Daniel had created began falling apart. The man who once stood on that stage believing he was untouchable suddenly looked like someone who had nowhere left to run. The investigation took several months. During that time, Daniel tried everything. He blamed Sophia, he blamed me, he blamed everyone except himself. But facts don't change because someone refuses to accept them. The truth eventually came out. Daniel had manipulated the transfer process. He had hidden financial problems from my father. He had used the company resources to cover personal mistakes. And the worst part was that he had known my father was trying to fix everything before he passed away. He didn't just take my inheritance. He took advantage of the last days of the man who loved him most. The company was returned to the family trust until everything was settled. The house was returned to me. But when I walked through that front door again, I didn't feel the happiness I expected. I stood in the living room and looked around. The same walls, the same furniture, the same memories, but something was different. I wasn't the same person who had been thrown out months earlier. I had learned that losing something doesn't always mean you are defeated. Sometimes losing everything shows you what truly matters. A few weeks later, I found a final letter from my father hidden inside his old desk. I sat there for a long time before opening it. My hands trembled as I read his words. My dear Emily, if you are reading this, then life has probably tested you in ways I never wanted. I want you to remember that people may take your possessions, but they can never take your strength. Never allow someone else's greed to turn your heart bitter. Fight for what is right, but don't become the same person who hurt you. I pressed the letter against my chest. Those words were exactly what I needed. Because for a long time, I thought revenge meant making Daniel feel the pain he caused me. But my father taught me something greater. True victory is rebuilding yourself after someone tried to destroy you. Months passed. The company became stronger under honest leadership. The employees who had feared losing their jobs finally felt secure again. The business my father created continued growing, but this time with the values he always believed in. As for Daniel, the world he built disappeared. The luxury lifestyle, the expensive cars, the people who surrounded him because of his success. They were all gone. One afternoon, I saw him standing outside the company building. He looked different, not powerful, not arrogant, just tired. He noticed me and slowly walked closer. Emily, I stopped. What do you want? He looked down. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't answer. I know sorry doesn't fix what I did. He swallowed hard. I thought money would make people respect me. I thought being the one with power meant I could never lose. His voice became quieter, but I lost the only things that mattered. For a moment, I saw my brother again. The little boy who used to protect me. The person he used to be before greed changed him. I hope one day you understand what you took from me, I said. He nodded. I do. I looked at him. I don't hate you, Daniel. He seemed surprised, but I will never forget what happened. I walked away, not because I wanted him to suffer. Not because I wanted to prove I had won. I walked away because I finally had peace. A year later, I stood in the garden behind my father's house. The roses my mother planted were blooming again. The same garden where my father taught me that character mattered more than wealth. I looked at everything around me and smiled. Daniel thought he had destroyed my life when he stole my inheritance. But he never understood one thing. My father's greatest gift was never the company. It was the strength, honesty, and courage he gave me. And while Daniel lost everything chasing power, I gained something he could never buy. A life built on truth.